Good afternoon, baseball fans. It is Monday, November 27th. I am Susie. This is Bourbon and Baseball, and we have a very special guest for you today. I know that the hot stove is stoving and it is hot, but there is still baseball going on, guys. I don't know if you know this or not. KBO stuff is here. It's here to stay. Lots of players are coming over, and I have a very special guest with me today. This is Odelfer. Say hi.
What's going on, everyone?
There you go. So he's over there. We're gonna do this whole entire episode about KBO, how he got started on liking the teams, liking KBO, all of that fun stuff. If you've ever been interested in the KBO stuff, this is the episode for you. So welcome, Odelfer. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate that. Sorry about the technical difficulties earlier.
No worries, it's all good. All part of the show.
Right. Oh, before we start, I'm so sorry I forgot to give you guys the warning. This is a rated R podcast, mainly for the adult language because I have a potty mouth. So if there's tiny ears listening, or if that's not your jam, then that is okay. I typically try and tone it down with guests, but if you hear an errant like F word or a cuss word, just I apologize. I don't have a swear jar, but that's why we put the explicit warning on the podcasts so that you guys know ahead of time. So, with that said, we will kind of jump right in, Odelfer, and can you tell me how you got into KBO? Like I said, when you hopped on, I was like, I don't know why I expected you to be a Korean guy.
So it all started as probably most people in the US got into it, which would be in 2020 when there was no MLB on TV.
Uh-huh.
So what's kind of crazy is this might shock some people who know me. I actually don't really like baseball that much. I don't really watch baseball. It's easy for me to follow along. So like for example, I'm a Yankees fan. I probably watch like 20 games a season. Like I barely watch, but I know like the
Okay.
whole roster. I follow it. I know what's going on. But the actual watching, I can't sit and watch like a 9 inning game at this point. I don't
Okay.
like like if I like the roster, I'll watch. But anyway, that's another story. But
So
I'll watch like
are you telling me that you don't like the Yankees roster currently?
yeah, I don't like the roster. It was built really bad. But that's a whole nother that's a whole nother episode. That's a whole nother, hour episode on its own that I can get into. But to go back, I've always had interest in the Japanese league because they post a lot of players from the majors, like Masahiro Tanaka, one of my favorite Yankees of the past. He was fun to watch. So when I heard that they were putting the KBO on TV, I didn't really know much about it, but I said, let me try to get into this because I know the league's coming up and they're going to be posting guys to the majors coming up soon. And I was like, this is cool. Let me get into it. One thing that I like is, for example, like the World Cup for soccer. And it's like you only get a certain amount of, players from your country. So you can't just choose whoever you want. So I like to see, can a smaller nation with like one guy carry a team? Kind of like in the KBO, you get three foreigners. So it's like, can these three guys help out your team enough to lead you to a title? And this is what makes cool stories in the KBO, kind of like Eric Fetty. If he was
Hold,
to win it
hold,
all, that
hold
would have
on.
been incredible.
Go back. You said so I didn't realize that was a rule. Is that a rule? Like each
So
team
yeah, so you
is
get
only
three
allowed to have
foreigners.
okay.
It's either two batters and a pitcher or the opposite. You can't do 3 and 0. It has to be 2 and 1 of either type. And
Oh,
majority, it's always two pitchers. Foreign batters
interesting.
are usually less successful. So that's why teams tend to go with pitchers
Why
for
is
the
that?
two pitchers.
Why are
I
why are
think
batters
I
less
think it's
successful?
that I'm not I think maybe it's because in Korea there's a lot of pitchers, less so throwers. So for them, if they're not necessarily an established bat, they might struggle more because these are really good pitchers. They just don't throw too hard. So if you're so they're like deceptions, good accuracies, good all that stuff. And that's why the pitchers do well because if you throw like 95 in the majors, that's like average. But if you throw 95 in the KBO, now you're throwing above average because there's some guys that are starting to throw, like the younger guys are throwing 95 plus. But in the past, it wasn't like that. So if you throw like 95, that's like throwing 97 plus, equivalent to like the majors, which is harder to hit. So I think that's why pitchers do better because you can get away with making bad pitches if you can throw harder. You can get like ahead of the count and
Interesting.
that type of stuff. So yeah, so I got into the KBO in 2020. There was nothing else on TV, no Major League Baseball, anyways, and I was like, this is really cool. Let me, really get into it. I gave every team a shot. It took me about a month until I
Uh-huh.
picked my team. I wanted to give every team a fair shot. And I wound up being an NC Dinos fan. I didn't know any history about if they were good, bad, the roster. All I knew is that Na Sung-bum, who was supposed to come to the majors, which is one reason why I chose him. I was like, he's supposed to come to the majors. Scott Boras' client. Um,
Oh, okay.
but he kept getting injured, so he never made it. He now is the highest contract in the league with the Kia Tigers, interestingly enough. But between that, a couple other players that I liked and whatnot, I wound up being a Dinos fan, and they happened to win it all that year. And what I found out is a lot of people in America became a Dinos fan because of their mascot, I think, something like that. I don't know, but like a lot of people in America are Dinos fans, so I kind of don't like the perception that I either chose them because they won it all or I
Uh-huh.
chose them because of the mascot. I straight up just gave every team a shot and I just picked them. So I'm probably in that one person crowd compared to everyone else who chose it for the other two reasons. But that was a magical season. The fact that we won our first ever championship in my first season, um, which is crazy. But yeah, that's pretty much how I got into it. I was like, this is the next closest thing to the NPB. It's the third best league in the world. They're getting better every year. There's only 10 teams. Two of them have just come in like the past decade, so they're definitely on the rise. Guys are starting to throw 100 even. So yeah, there's a lot to follow now. But just 2 years or 3 years ago now, that's why I got into it. Just because they put it on ESPN and made it really easy to watch and easy to follow. Um, and it
Very
was it was a lot of fun. I met a lot of people through it.
So now when you watch the games are obviously broadcasted in Korean. Are they subtitled in English or no?
I mean, I'm gonna say no, but to be fair, if you're talking about the ones on ESPN, that was all the regular broadcasters. So the guys who do like Sunday Night Baseball and all that
Uh-huh.
stuff, they were doing it. So they had all like the graphics in English,
Okay.
commentators were in English. But if you're talking about like nowadays, no. To be honest, I'm probably like the only spot you can get English commentary. Unless
Okay.
there's some other person I don't know. But but I hate subtitles. Like I wouldn't turn it on even if I can get it in English. I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
I don't like I think it just, like, gets in the way, you know, I'd rather, like, listen to, like, the atmosphere at the game and listen to the commentators go crazy because the Korean commentators are pretty good. I like them more than majority of the major league commentators.
Interesting. Okay, very cool. So I got into baseball in 2018 and like 2020 was kind of the year that I like really got into baseball and like started learning about like all of the different teams and whatnot. So that's funny that 2020 was my kind of like year to get into all of the baseball teams. So 2020 was the year for you to get into KBO. That's very cool. So now you said that there were ten teams in the KBO, but before we go into the 10 teams, can we kinda address, like, the quote, unquote, like, "big differences" between KBO and MLB? Now, I know that they play less games, 144
44,
games? Okay.
144, yeah.
And it's similar to, like, AAA, where they play 6 days a week and they're off on Mondays?
Correct. I did not
Okay.
know that's a thing for AAA. That's interesting you said that, but, yes, they do that.
Okay.
Off days are Monday. Occasionally, you might play if there's, like a rain out, they schedule it on, like, the Monday, but pretty much it's always Mondays are off.
But for the most part, besides, like, number of games and, like, the scheduling, they're pretty similar, right? Like, DH in both leagues? Do they have
So there's
like
only one league. There's
okay.
no there's
So
no
there's
2
no, like,
conferences.
American League, National League, or a
Yeah,
variation
so
of that?
I'll
Okay.
get into some of the big differences, including some of my favorite differences and some of my I mean, I'll see if there's any that I don't like. But one thing I love is the salary cap. They have a salary cap. I think that really helps make the spread of teams much more fair. I'm not gonna get into too much detail, but just for example, there's some teams that are really good that they've lost some players now because their team is really good and they can't keep up with holding so many big contracts. That's why like the Dinos lost Na Bum because he got a massive contract. So the Dinos signed two star players instead of one superstar,
Gotcha.
which has actually benefited them a lot. Getting two stars instead of one superstar. So if Na Bum was healthy because he was injured, he had like a 365 batting average with like a 1,100 around there slugging. It was ridiculous. He's insane. To me, he's like the Bryce Harper of the KBO, the lefty bat, the power bat. He's got a little like flow with his hair. I think he's like the Bryce Harper, but who's a great player, should be a Yankee, but another story as well. Um,
Brian Cashman didn't want him though. Come on now.
well, hopefully he'll get Jung-Hoo Lee, which we will talk about that later in this episode. But yeah, so I like the salary cap. It keeps teams more even. It also makes free agency a little more interesting, I think, because when you're kind of tight in the cap or for trades, you'll let one of the big name players go somewhere else. Another rule that I like is the 3 foreigner rule. I mean, it's like, like the Phillies, their roster is dominantly American, but besides them, most of the teams are pretty much what 50% American, 50% others, which, there's so many great players around the world, and it's great to see this. But I personally enjoy this little feature that the KBO has where it's a lot of like domestic players help grow your league and whatnot. I don't think the MLB would even ever consider it. I don't think it makes sense. But for the KBO, I think it's great. So that's one thing I like. And then arguably my favorite rule difference is the playoff format. So here's how it works. If you are the best team in the regular season, you make it to the Korea Series, which is the World Series. So there's 5 teams out of the 10 who get in. The 5 versus 4 is the wild card, and then you play 3, 2, 1. So it's a ladder system. So it
Okay.
really it really promotes regular season. It really matters because if you're
Okay.
in MLB, if you get in, you're just like, okay, these last couple games, I don't care anymore. But if you could still
So
get from third to second, there's benefits
so you said the team with the best record gets in. Do they get a bye
all the
or
way into the
okay.
final.
Oh, okay. So
And then if you finish second, you're in the semis automatically.
oh, okay.
So if
Okay.
you're the fifth team, you have to you're down a ghost win. So the 4 seed has a ghost win, and it's a best of 2. So if the 4 seed wins one game, they
Okay, okay.
advance.
Okay.
Okay. The 5 seed has to win both games, and I believe both games are on the road as well. And then if the 5 seed wins, they play the 4. If they win, they play the 3. If they win, they play the 2. If they win, they play the 1. So um, I personally like that. It's called the ladder system. I personally like that more because it makes regular season more worth it, in my opinion. It makes you want to watch to the end. If you can jump up from fourth to fifth or third to second, whatever it is, I think it makes it more entertaining compared to I'm not getting first seed and I know I'm automatically in. There's no reason to play anymore these last couple of games. So I personally like that a lot.
Interesting. Okay. That is cool. I kind of like that. I don't I don't know if it would work here. If you're a Braves fan listening or if you're a Dodgers fan listening, you'd be like, "Yes, we love that system so much." Because,
Because I think if you play 162 games, you're the
right.
best team. If you have the
Yep.
best record, you know, I think that like the playoffs are fun, but to me, you're not the best team depending on World Series. I don't think that says it. I think the best team is when you play 162 games, you play every team or whatever, you know what I mean, majority of the
Right.
teams. It's like I think that's the best team. Not because you played a best of 7
Right.
and one guy got injured or he had a cold streak or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right. Diamondback fans and Ranger fans right now are, like, shaking their fists at you right now, but that's okay, that's okay. Um, so then if now is it a best of 5? Is it a best of 7? Is it a best of 1? Like,
Yeah,
how does that
so I
series
believe
go?
that the first series is, as I mentioned, best of 2. I believe the next 2 series are best of 5, and then after that is best of 7.
Okay. And does the number 1 team get home field advantage all the time, or do they travel? Like,
No,
how does that go?
so the way it works is it's 2 home, 2 away.
Okay.
No, I think I it might be 2 home, 3 away, 2 home,
Okay.
or it's either 2, 2, 3, or it's 2, 3, 2.
Gotcha.
So I'm
Okay.
not sure, but there is a chance. I don't quite remember. I mean, I could pull it up if you want me to, and like I can pull up in a second. But yeah, I can quickly double check if you want me to. So we get the right information out
Sure.
there real quick. Give me one moment.
Okay. Well, I know another, difference in
So yeah,
MLB
it's
and
2,
KBO.
2, 3. So the
Okay.
1 seed gets the final 3 games at home and the
Oh,
first
okay.
2. So you
Okay.
get 5 out of the 7 at home, which once
Yeah.
again, I like promoting home field advantage for
Yeah.
doing well in the regular season.
Now another big difference though between KBO and MLB, everybody has a actual, like, walk-up song, don't they? That, like, that's their actual, like, song, like, personalized to them and, like, and stuff, or am I thinking of a different
Are you
Asian
are you
baseball?
are you talking about the KBO here?
Yeah.
So if I understand what you're saying, I think you're wording a little bit wrong. I think the MLB has walk-up songs, which
No,
is they have
sorry.
their own music. They have their own chants or something like that. So
Each
each player has their home fans have a personalized chant for them
Okay,
with like their name and stuff.
okay.
So I don't think they have walk-up songs. I could be wrong, but I guess their walk-up song is the personalized chant.
Is the chance, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So
So I actually enjoy the walk-up songs of certain players, getting to like know them like a little bit more of what they like and what gets them hyped up for their at bat. But it's also really cool to see, when your team gets into it for his that one player that the whole team loves and whatnot, and they have their own chant. So I think both ways are cool. Both ways are unique. So I like both.
Okay, so each player has their own, like, personalized chant then? Is that what I'm
Yes,
Okay.
to be honest, I'm not positive if every single player does, if
Uh-huh.
it's but I would assume so.
But,
I
like, the
would assume.
main
But to be
star
honest
players?
one of the biggest things about KBO is the whole chanting and whatnot. I'm not really too into it, to be honest. So,
See,
that's probably
and
like an L on my part because everyone's like, "Oh, I wanna go to a game, I wanna dance, I wanna cheer," and I'm just like, I'm more so accustomed to the MLB style, which is sitting in your seat, maybe jumping up for a home run. Like, that's because 'cause I'm going to some games next year. Honestly, I'm kinda, like, a little bit nervous to go in, like, a full stadium that's packed and everyone's chanting and cheering and
Oh,
jumping,
yeah,
and
no,
I'm
you're
just like,
you're you're
"I
gonna
don't
have
know
to
what's
chant
going
and
on
jump.
here."
You're gonna have to chant and
So,
jump. It's a rule. I don't think it's a rule, but I think there will be eyes looking at you if
I'm
if
gonna
you're
have to
not.
get some of my friends to help me out and get me a little pregame going of
There you
like,
go.
what's the chant? How do I do it? I gotta fit
Listen,
in.
just like one thing of soju and you'll be good, okay? Just remember, soju is very, very strong, okay? Like, don't think that you can, like, man up and be like, "Oh, Imma drink this." No, no, no. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'll
Just
definitely have to, try some
okay?
next year.
Um, but they do have the atmosphere is, like you said, a wee bit different than MLB games. It's a lot more raucous. It's a lot more for me
I've
personally,
been
I feel like
just
it's more
like college
exciting.
football.
Okay. Lots of standing, lots of cheering, um, lots of noisemakers, I wanna almost say it's like Dominican, like Lidom. It's a little bit more, um, entertaining. It's not as subdued as, like, MLB, games and whatnot, except, playoffs are always gonna be playoffs, but when I've seen some of the KBO games, they have been a little bit more like, I've gotten into it a little bit more just because they are a little bit more exciting, and when I first got into baseball, I was like, "Oh my god, this is the most boring thing in the entire world, and I don't how does anybody watch this?" And so there's a long time where my husband was trying to get me into baseball, and I was like, "I would rather watch paint dry, like, no, thank you, nope." And so but I feel like if maybe I started, like, with KBO, I'd be like, "Hey, this is kind of exciting," and then, gotten into it. But now I'm all into it, so it's okay. But, um, another another difference that I, like, researching this found was that there is a limit on innings. Like, it's not a play play as long as you go. There's a 12 inning
Oh.
limit in the
Oh, yeah,
regular
yeah, yeah.
season, right? And
I
then,
could be wrong, but I think that may have been introduced with the COVID year.
I
That
think
might have
when I
been when it came about.
I think when I looked it was in I think they said it was in 2015. Let me
Maybe
see.
something like that. But
Lem
I think part of the reason is because, it's much easier because in MLB you have like single A, double A, you have like over like 100 players in your on your roster essentially. Where if you're playing a bunch of innings and someone gets injured or can't pitch the next couple of days because they've thrown a lot, whatever, it's easier to recoup and call someone else up. You know, but in the KBO, rosters are smaller in terms of there's only like a futures team. You don't have a bunch of minor league teams to call up extra guys. So I think that's why. Like for example, in free agency, there's roughly like 20 to like 30 players in free agency. Like it's very small. MLB has
Oh,
like 100.
Right.
Of course, there's 3 times as many teams. There's 30 teams, whatever in the MLB, and only 10 in the KBO. But you know what I mean? And more guys are coming from other leagues, so it's much easier if you play extra innings to just send over like a relief pitcher down now and bring him up a couple of days later. But in the KBO, you don't quite have that, which is why the league is known as a quote unquote AAA level league. It's because the bottom part of it is holding it down because you don't have the depth. You know what I mean? You just don't have the
Interesting.
depth because we're signing guys in the MLB from all over the world. I mean, if you look at like half of the prospects, I mean, they're probably from like DR, Venezuela, all those countries. The
Right.
KBO, they don't have that. I know that in Japan, they even have a farm system thing where you can sign international players that don't count towards your three. And I heard a rumor that the KBO may introduce that where you can sign like one player um, that's like international who's like a youth player. I heard that they're in talks to implement that, which would be cool. But yeah, it won't count towards your 3 foreigners. You just can't play until you call them up. But
Interesting.
I think that's why they introduced it because there's just a lack of depth. So you can't just like bring a guy down and bring like another guy up. The level isn't the depth isn't there.
Very cool. I This is, like, all mind-blowing to me, so I'm trying to, like, process what you're saying as I'm thinking of, like, new the next question, and my brain's like, "I'm sorry, we're gonna overload here. We don't even know what you want us to do right now."
So
Um
I know that in like Japan, there's more money being played around in Japan,
Uh-huh.
and you have I know teams that have like 5+ guys that are like international that are just in like the U team, whatever, that aren't allowed to come up until you activate them, but they sign like 18-year-olds just like the MLB does, um, and whatnot. Like Oscar Colas, who's with the White Sox, he was actually a two-way player when he signed in Japan, and he was two-way, but then that's a whole other episode too. How he left his contract, and he left Cuba, left his contract in Japan. A lot of sketchy stuff, if you will. But whatever. He's here now in the majors. But anyways, the KBO, you don't have that. You have your 3 foreigners, and that's it. But what they are introducing, as we're on this topic, real quick, for next season, which this is great. In instances where your foreign player gets injured, you could put him on a foreign player IL,
Oh,
and then you can sign a new guy, which they never had that. So teams would just cut the foreigner if he was injured for X amount of time because foreigners are a big part of your team. So now you could say, oh, this guy's a good player. I don't want to cut him. Let me put him on the foreign IL, sign a new guy. Now, the level of player you're going to sign, quite frankly, it won't be a big name player because there's the salary cap, first of all.
mhm.
Second of all, because the rule is it's like a 6-week thing or something. So once the guy's back from the IL, you have to make a decision. Either you cut the guy you just signed or you cut that guy. So
Oh,
basically, the type of players that are likely going to go, in theory, I'm hoping, are like younger players that are like, hey, I can try to prove myself here for a couple of weeks to earn myself with a different KBO team / proving myself elsewhere where, hey, I pitched at a big league, you know what I mean, for 6 weeks, whatever, and I proved myself. The only issue is it's going to be hard to find someone who wants to uproot their life for like 6 weeks.
right.
So that's
That's
where I'm
true.
thinking they might find a prospect who wants to come forward and say, "Hey, I want to play every day, every 5 days. I want to pitch with some, a level of, hey, I know I'm going out every 5 days. A level of I have to perform because I'm a foreigner.
Right,
If he was just someone in the majors, he might pitch that one game and you don't know where you're going in 5 days later. You know what I
right,
mean? And sometimes people need that routine of knowing I'm being relied on. I'm getting the bump every 5 days, and there's a level to that. So who knows with like Eric Fetty, maybe that's one thing that helped him, knowing every 5 days I'm being relied on heavily. Everyone's cheering for him in the majors. He might get booed a lot. I mean, I don't know. I don't follow the Nationals, but you know what I mean. There's a lot of different factors.
right.
One instance is this guy named Perlaza. He just signed. He's a new player for the Hanwha Eagles, as we've talked about before here. He's 25 years old. He's the youngest foreigner in the league at 25. He was with the Chicago Cubs, and he was in their AAA. He was really good. And they let him go with a level of respect because this is where he wanted to go.
Mhm.
But they didn't want to let go of him. He was going to get called. He was like close to getting called up, but didn't have enough room for him at his position. He's not really known for his defense. He's more of a bat. So they're like, we don't really have a spot for you. But He's highly rated. I saw a lot of Cubs fans were adding me when I posted it, saying that's like a big loss for them, and they're all excited to see what he can do. But he's the youngest foreigner in the league. A lot of potential, this guy. If he plays well for 2 to 3 years, he would definitely go back to the majors and get himself a nice deal. So that's a new trend we might see, is get younger guys in the KBO with higher potential.
Interesting. So, like a DH type, or does he actually have a
So
spot?
he plays infield and outfield. He actually plays like 4 or 5 positions, but he's not known for being great at any of them necessarily. He might be like average or like slightly below, but he gets moved around. He can play like, I think it's like second base, corner, outfield, some stuff like that. So he'll probably get moved around. I know that the Eagles have a lot of guys that could play like first base, right field, third base, first base, second and center. The Eagles have a lot of flexible guys. They're probably like the team that has the most flexibility, which that's probably one thing that they liked about Perlaza, is knowing he can play multiple positions. He definitely won't be DHing all the time. I think he'll play a lot of the time in the field, but I'm excited to see what he can do. I think he has the most potential out of any foreigner, and he has the potential to change history, really, because like I said, he's the youngest foreigner. If he
Right.
plays well, more teams are going to give these guys chances that are younger. So this is history changing potentially, in my opinion.
Interesting. Very cool. Okay. So now, can you tell us the 10 teams that are over there? And FYI, guys, this obviously is not going to be, like a 6 hour long episode. So we're going to just give a very brief overview of these teams. If you are more interested in any of these teams, Adelpher, feel free to tell us about the channel that you run as well, because that's part of why we're here. If you guys are interested, follow Adelpher on Twitter and whatnot, and you will learn all of the things. So again, this is just like a brief teaser, just so everybody knows.
So I will say that as we've just got into this, I'm doing a KBO TV show once a week, Friday nights for half an hour at 10 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. PST. Maybe half an hour once a week. We're going to go into all the teams, the offseason trades, signings, foreign players, players coming to the major leagues, all that good stuff. This week, we're going to talk about the Kium Heroes, which is one of the 10 teams. They have Lee Jung Ho coming to the majors, who most of you guys who are listening probably might know. So we'll get into that in more depth, as well as future guys who may come and pass guys like Kim Il-sung. So I think there's an interesting trend, if you will, that Kim Il-sung played for the Heroes. So does Lee, and so does the next most likely guy coming to the majors. So interesting that the Heroes, who finished in last place and are broke, have no money, somehow find a way to produce 3 major league level talents, all at like age 25-ish, that are all really good players. So I actually got to see Kim play in his, I don't remember if it was his first or second season, but I got to see them. I went to an away Padres game, and I was sitting on like the first base side, which is like the home team. And like the last couple of innings, I moved over to like the third base side. It was like an empty game, and it was really cool because they were all chanting like Ha Sung Kim whenever
Yeah.
he was on base or whatever. And I was like, this is cool to sit with all like the Padres fans. I was coming as like a neutral just to watch Kim and whatnot. But that was cool. But yeah, so if you guys want to learn about some of the teams, some players, all that good stuff, I mean, yeah, you can just check out the Twitter and it'll all be posted there. You can find it there. But yeah, the 10 teams are the Heroes, the Kium Heroes, the Samsung Lions, the Kia Tigers, the Lotte Giants, the Hanwha Eagles, the NC Dinos, the KT Wiz, the SSG Landers, the LG Twins, and who's the one team I'm forgetting? Who's the one team that I'm forgetting?
I couldn't tell
The
you.
Doosan Bears. The Doosan
Oh,
Bears is the 10th team.
I was like, I don't know.
I was
Uh,
like, I know that there's one more, but yeah, it's the Doosan Bears. They are the 10th team. Korea is not as big as the US, obviously. I don't think
Obviously.
anyone needed to hear that. So, 2 of the teams are within the past couple of like the past decade. There's been 2 new teams, so we'll see if in the future they wind up having more teams. There's potentially 2 new stadiums being built that are going to be state of the art, including the Hanwha Eagles. I know that there may be a person on the left of me on the screen who may be interested in following the Hanwha Eagles. Um,
I
so
don't know why. It's not
so
definitely for not the color or anything. So
so as mentioned, there's a flamethrower who throws about 100. First overall pick in the draft a couple years back. He is 20 years old. He just won Rookie of the Year. Their number 2 prospect also throws about 100. They just had a lefty who's the number 1 pick in the draft this year. this is a really bad team who's now on the come up. Um, they finally got out of last place, which is a big step. They signed a big player for agency, so they're definitely on the come up now. But they have like 5 guys on the top in the top 50 on the KBO prospects site. Um, and so their rotation has the potential to have like 3 like number 1 picks and like 1 like number 2 overall pick, like something ridiculous.
Wow.
Like that's how bad they've been. But their rotation is scary. And this lefty throws like around like 95, and he's like 18, which so he could
Wow.
definitely get that a bit higher. And for a lefty, lefties don't usually throw as harder. I think this guy's potential is really high. It's going to be hard to hit him probably. We'll see.
So you're telling me the Hanwha Eagles are like the Baltimore Orioles? They've sucked for a long time, and now they're finally good because they've got a
Except I
lot of
guess you can convert the 2 teams' issues, which the Orioles have too many batters and need some
yeah.
starting pitchers, and then it's vice versa for this.
Okay. So the Hanwha Eagles then have a really good pitching staff and not so many bats. That's what you're telling me?
Correct.
Okay.
But they probably have what are known as the 2 pillars of Team Korea, which is Moon Dong-ju, who throws 100, and they have Roshi Hwan, who's their third baseman. He's like the biggest slugger in the KBO. Excuse me. And he bats like around 300 too. He's around that 25-ish mark as most of the top young players are. But he had a crazy year. I believe he finished second in MVP, I think, which is crazy because the team finished like 9th place. So like that's how good his season was.
Wow.
But yeah, so they have what is likely like the 2 biggest pillars that are gonna dictate Team Korea. They have their cleanup hitter and they have their ace, most likely. As long as both of the 2 develop at this pace for 2026, that's definitely gonna be the case. I know next year I'm getting a Moon Dong-ju jersey. That is my guy. Big fan of him. So I'm definitely getting a jersey. He wears number 1 for those interested. Easy to follow.
Okay.
Not the
Interesting.
sun, but the moon. It wears number 1, so I think that's easy to remember.
That yeah. Okay, so now tell me, okay, so the Eagles, well, you said the Heroes were the worst team. Are they still the worst team?
So yes, so they finished in 10th place.
Okay.
But both of them 2 teams have the 2 top prospect or the 2 best farm systems, the top 2 farm systems. So they're
Okay.
definitely on the come up though. Seems like the Heroes rebuild won't be too long. Like the Eagles have already went through it. They're pretty much like done with like the rebuild is almost done. The Heroes rebuild is much shorter. They're only back for like maybe 2 or 3 years. But yeah, we'll see. But their ace just not only got injured, but he's going away to military. So it kind of works out where he's got to rehab while he's in military. So either way, he's missing time. So he got to like get out of the way, if you will. I'm not gonna speak too much about this because I'm gonna speak all about this on the preview. He had some controversy. He cannot play for the national team. So I'll speak about that as we go into that. I'm not gonna give too much of the preview because I already have that planned for Friday.
Oh
So
yeah,
if
no,
anyone wants to learn about the Heroes, that's where you want to be. But yeah,
yeah, definitely. If you, like I said, guys, if you are interested in any of this, which I know I am, go check it out. I caught the tail end of it last week, and if you are not able to be there live, you are able to watch it later on. And there are maybe some plans to put it on YouTube. Yes, maybe, kind of,
reluctantly,
hopefully,
possibly yes.
reluctantly.
No,
Okay,
okay. I think it'll be up on there. I'm gonna probably purposely post it late so that way people come to
come.
like the
Well,
live stream.
definitely. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I have the video pretty much edited. It's not really
Okay.
much of an edit. I'm pretty much putting exactly what I have up there. Just cut it shorter a little bit, and that'll pretty much be it. But the VODs are directly on the streaming site. So
Okay.
if you're on kick.com /Adelfer, it's right there. The VODs are always there too. So those will be up on there. So yeah, but it
Mhm.
probably will be on YouTube eventually.
Okay.
Just
So
it'll be at random times late.
that is okay. Like I said, I've got twin 8-year-old girls, and sometimes the schedule doesn't allow me to be there. And so, but I don't want to miss the content. So I want to be there, just sometimes I can't. So but definitely go follow him. So let's get back to like the team. So you said that the Hanway Eagles and the Heroes were like the worst 2 teams. So who's like the best team?
Well, the best team is the LG Twins. They just won it all. They were the best in the regular season and in
Okay.
the Korea series. Um, They actually won the career series without their best foreign pitcher. He's one of the best pitchers in the league. Adam Pluko. He had like a 2.5-ish ERA season 1 and season 2. There were rumors, oh, was he not pitching because he wants to just stay healthy and go back to the majors and get himself a good contract or what? I believe he did wind up having surgery, which kind of took away the rumors and
Oh.
whatnot. But there was some controversy between that. But there was a little bit of um, weird ill, if you will, between the
Uh-huh.
fan base and the pitcher. But overall, I saw him posting a lot of stuff. When the team won it all, he was congratulating them, posting a lot of stuff about that. Seemed like he was happy for them and whatnot. Seemed like it was genuine. So, you know, there's always that speculation about, oh, should I stay healthy, go back to the majors and all that stuff. Where
Right.
that's just part of that. What happens? There's more money in the majors. The salary cap for foreigners is like 1 mil per foreigner. It's like really low. Um, because if you sign someone to a bad contract, you're pretty much screwed then.
Yeah.
And the KBO doesn't have enough assets regarding money like the majors to
Mhm.
just recuperate and get rid of guys. So they try to prevent that by making it lower. But the way it works is you get 1 year contracts automatically. You can't sign multi-year deals for foreigners.
Oh.
And each year you're in there, your maximum is larger. So it does promote if you do come back year 2, 3, whatever, your maximum is higher. So you can pay a guy more money now as they
Mhm.
stay for each year. But yeah, the LG Twins have the best lineup in the league. We will talk about a big trade they made with the Kium Heroes, so that'll be on the show as well. KBO, there's not usually a whole lot of trades because there's only 10 teams. So in some ways, they're all rivals in some ways because you
Right.
play them all so often in some ways. So it's not too often that you see trades, but given his contract, given they don't have money, given they're on a rebuild, the Twins, and they lost their foreign pitcher they went at, they got a domestic pitcher, gave up a huge haul for that, which we will discuss that. But yes, the LG Twins, their lineup is kind of like the Braves. It's not, in some ways, it's different. The Braves have some like the best power hitters in the league. You know what I mean? But there's just like 1 through 9. It feels like their ninth hitter like just as good as like their one hitter, and no matter what, they just go through everyone. Their lineup is just ridiculous. Everyone plays. They can put in a random guy. He'll just show up and play well.
So
It's
even the
amazing.
even the depth bats are good?
Yeah, but I mean, even what amazes me is their relief pitching. So
Okay.
the KBO is known for having bad defense and bad relief pitching. Those are like the two bad things is bullpen. Um, and the LG Twins are the best bullpen. Their closers heading to the majors, and he's actually Lee Jung Ho's brother-in-law.
Oh,
Interesting. And
okay.
they're both coming to the majors. So there's rumors that they may purposely try to sign with like the same team, like the whole family kind of be
Oh,
together.
okay.
Um, in an alternative universe, potentially one's a Yankee, one's a Met, and they could all live in New York together where they're on different teams or something
And
like that.
so that's, is that, Usuk Go? Is that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yep. He throws about 95 on average, but he could top upper 90s, 97 plus. So his velo is not like an issue at all. He has nasty movement. He could probably still get up his velo on like another tick or two if he really worked on it. But yeah, he could touch like 97, 98 around there. He's touched 99 before, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so I like him a lot. He's coming off an injury plague season. He had like 3 something ERA, which was for him awful. He's usually like a very low 2 guy. But yeah, he's really good. And what I've heard about some people is what they say is the KBO has a lot of pitchers. The issue is that the
Mhm.
velo's not there. So for
Right.
guys that have velo, they will translate to the majors because these are pitchers. They know how to pitch. The difference is can they throw hard enough?
Right.
And someone like him who could, he could be really tough to hit because he has all the movement, he knows how to pitch, accuracy, all that stuff, and he has the velo. So I've heard that's what makes like the difference. If you have velo and you come from Japan or Korea, you're
Mhm.
usually really good in the majors because they're not just throwers, they're pitchers.
Gotcha. But now he's not a free agent though, correct? So he's gonna be posted by the Twins, and if I read correctly, the deal was if the Twins didn't like the deal that whatever MLB team offered,
Correct. They're
that
gonna
they were
hold
just
on to
gonna
him.
keep him?
Correct.
So how long does
The
a
window is
player have
30
to stay?
days.
No, how long does a player have to stay in the KBO in order to leave as a free agent?
I think it's 7 seasons.
7
I think
seasons,
it's
okay.
7 seasons.
If before the 7 seasons, the team
They have to be
has to
posted.
agree
Yes.
agree for them to be posted. And then
Yeah, so what I, found out is about, Goo Suk is that he's supposed to come out next year, and it kinda shocked a lot of people. No one really knew he was coming out this year. It
uh-huh.
was kinda, like, last minute, and the reason is there was something, I don't know if it was in his contract or it's a new rule or whatnot, but he used his time with the national team to add time onto his contract, which
Oh.
made his service time larger than it really is, which is how he's able to get out this season. So no one really knew that. So yes, he has his contract is not quite up yet, and he's supposed to get posted next season. But he's getting posted this offseason on like short notice because of that. Pretty much just how it came up out of nowhere. Whatever major league club or clubs said to the major league office, or can we get like the information on Goo? Then the question was, does Goo want to go? And he said, yes, I want to go. The question is, will the Heroes post him? And they were talking about this, and they said he could use his national team time to boost his thing to make sure he hits the 7 years, so that way he could come over. And then once they did that, the question was, will the Heroes let him, or not the Heroes? Will the Twins let him? And the Twins, out of kind of like reluctantly, but out of respect because they just want it all. And he's been a great part of their team and whatnot. They said
Mhm.
like, this is a big move for you, but they said if we don't get a good offer back for us, we're not
Right.
going to let you go. So
Yeah.
if it's good for both sides, then that's fine.
They'll allow it. So, the posting fee is like 20% of the offer or what? 20% of
I think
the
it's like I think it's
contract.
like 20% up
Yeah.
to a certain point, and then it's like 17 and a half up to a certain point, and that's like 15. I don't know, but there's
Okay.
like it's like as it gets larger, they
Uh-huh.
take smaller percentages away.
Huh. You would think it'd be the opposite.
It's because if it's 10 mil and then you get 20%, that's
Okay.
2 mil. And then if you get 100 mil and that's 15%, you're making more.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah, that
that's
makes sense.
kind of how, yeah, so either way. So that's just how it
Interesting.
is, but yeah.
Alright. Okay, so those are 2 of the players. Is there anybody else that is coming over or being
Not this
posted?
season, but in the future, Kim Song.
Uh-huh.
Funny backstory between him. I used to call him the Walmart Song Kim because his name is Kim Song Kim Song. They were
Uh-huh.
teammates, and they played second and short. So usually shortstop is better than second. Usually, you know what I mean. So I was like, he's like the Walmart version of him. But ever since I've said that, he has completely went crazy, and now he's one of the best players in the league. He won a Gold Glove award, but his bat plays as well. I don't know what his batting average was, but it was like 300 something. He's one of the fastest players in the league, so he could steal bags like crazy. He won the Gold Glove, so he's a great player. The only thing he's missing is power, but besides that, he has everything else. I've heard rumors he might head to Japan, but he could definitely come to the major leagues as well. But he is not Walmart anymore. He has definitely worked his way up to get some respect. So um, that's how I kind of put his name out there to let people who we were talking KBO with kind of get to know a new player. I said he's the Walmart version, but we can't use that narrative anymore because he's one of the best players in the league now, and he's a young player himself. He's like 24ish around there. But credit to the Heroes for somehow being broke and also producing 3 level major leaguers. Um,
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I remember a former Korean, Jung Ho Kang. I think he might used to play for the Heroes too, so that might be number 4. He had his own weird stuff where he got out of the league because of like DUIs and weird stuff like that. But yes. And oh, actually, the Heroes tried to sign him after he got out of the MLB, and he got
Oh,
banned from like the KBO for like a 1 or 2 year thing. So it hasn't started until he signs. So if a team signs him, he's essentially he's like a suspension for like at least the season. And the Heroes almost signed him like age like 36 or something like that, which
wow.
it was like, is it even like worth it? Like he might have something left in the tank, but he had to play in a couple of years and whatnot. He was a great player when he played in the majors. He was with the Pirates. He was a great player, but all issues got to him.
Interesting. So, um, then the players that have come over have I was gonna say were a little bit more scrappy. Um, but, then there's, like, G-Man Choi, who is definitely not scrappy. So, like, that just takes that narrative right away. Um, the players that have come over here
How
have
about,
been
Hyunjin Ryu?
also not scrappy.
Who, by the way, I'm gonna call it right now, 2025 season, he'll be pitching for the Hanwha Eagles.
Really? So he's gonna go back then?
That is my prediction. I could be wrong,
Interesting.
but I think he'll sign a one-year deal somewhere, and then he'll head home and go to the Eagles. So, once
Huh.
again, another potential ploy for Eagles new or old fans of why you might be excited to see the number one prospect in the league who throws gas, and then Hyunjin Ryu, who I like a lot. He's a tremendous pitcher. It's unfortunate he could have pitched in the WBC. He would have really helped out Team Korea a lot, really give them that extra edge of another big time starter, but he was injured.
Well, I mean, like, you know, now you said that you watched Ha Kim, like the first season that he was there in the Padres that the fans all chanted his name. They still do that, and it's like one of my
Hmm.
favorite things ever. And
Hmm.
so, I will watch Padres games like strictly for like watching like Ha Kim,
Yeah.
and then I did watch some Pirates games because of Ji-won Bae. So,
Oh, he's
obviously.
so I'm not sure if you know, he's not officially, but the rumor is he won't be allowed to play for the national team. Um, he's had something going on, I think, from high school that might have been, I don't know what level of domestic violence. So there
Oh.
was something. I don't know if it's confirmed, but I mean, I don't know what the deal is exactly, but I think something with DV. And the rumor is the national team won't let him play. He's
Well,
not officially banned, but something around that. I'm not going to it because I'm not too familiar with it. But yeah. But whatever the case is, in terms of baseball aspect, he's a great player. I like following his baseball. But yeah,
well, yeah, but now I have to not like him because I have a whole thing about not liking douchebag baseball players, okay?
you can do your research on that. See what level and what actually happened. I'm not gonna.
Okay. Well, so then
You know. But
I
there
will have
are
to
some
do that
other
though.
guys in the majors, or I should say in the minors, that are from Korea. Um, on my website, I ranked the draft prospects, and the guy who would have been the number one pick to the Eagles is now a Los Angeles Dodger, which says a lot because we all know the
Ooh.
Dodgers. This guy throws 100. His name is Jang Hyun Seok, and he is filthy. I mean, the fact he made it to the Dodgers says a decent amount.
Yeah.
Um, excuse me. And another guy, Choi Won Bin, I believe his name is. He is with the Cardinals, the St. Louis Cardinals. Um, and I like his game a lot. He also there's actually been a couple guys. Another guy with the Pirates, Jeon Suk Sim, who I've actually contacted before. Nice guy. What's it called? So there's been a couple guys that have rumored left to go to the MLB on purpose just to not be drafted by the Eagles
Oh, no.
because of how bad they are. So they have missed out on Chowan Ben, superstar outfielder he would have been, as well as John Shim. So there's a lot of stuff like that this past couple of years where guys have left to avoid being Eagles.
Wow.
Now, that's not the full story because obviously going to the majors is cool, getting some money, all this,
Right.
but
So now they can so people can choose from, like, when they turn 18, I guess, to just get drafted just to go to the MLB draft as opposed to playing in the KBO in
no,
its entirety?
they don't go to the draft. They have their own there's in the MLB they have their own international
They
signing
it
thing.
okay, okay. Oh, so
Yes.
they would
So
have to use international money then to sign the
correct.
okay,
International bonus pool money.
gotcha, okay, alright. See, we don't as an Astros fan, we don't know anything about the Asian market over there because we're signing, like, Cubans.
Yeah, you
That's
guys
all
have
we
a
like
lot
over
of
here.
Cubans, yeah.
We that's what we do over here. Cubans and
You know that, Jordan Alvarez used to be a Dodger.
yes, yes, we appreciate the Dodgers and Josh Fields just, oh, so much, so much.
I definitely remember that. That is interesting. I mean, I followed Jordan first when he got signed by the Dodgers. I was like, "This kid's gonna be good." I liked him a lot, and then he got traded. I was like for Josh Fields, I'm like, "Is this someone else?" I'm like, "Is this who I'm thinking of?" I'm like, and then I went like a year or two thinking of as if it wasn't him because I was like, "There's no way they would do that trade." So I
Yeah.
just assumed it was someone else, and then I was like, "Wait a minute, this is actually him."
So I wanna say that there was a story that, when, Jeff Luhnow went and made that trade, that the whoever he was talking to from the Dodgers was thinking that it was a different Alvarez. Like, he had the different Alvarezes, like, mixed up in his head. So, whatever Alvarez he had mixed up in his head was not Yordan. Like, he wanted to keep Yordan and give us the other
He
Alvarez.
traded the wrong guy?
I wanna say that that was the story. Don't quote me on that because it's that I don't think that's, like, the quote,
That's
unquote, "official
crazy, though.
story," but, like, from a friend, like, that was what was and I was like, "That's wow, that would be, that would be a big oops. That would be a big miss for the Dodgers." But, yeah, no, we, as an Yordan Alvarez fan, we thank the Dodgers every single day for that trade. So, but, um this is running a little bit long, and I'm so sorry for keeping you. If you guys are interested in any more of the KBO stuff, I know I will. I'm gonna try my best to be there on Friday to watch it live. But if you don't have any plans Friday night, definitely go into and follow Odelfer on Twitter. It will always be Twitter because I'm old and I will never call it X. So go follow him on Twitter. And so then you can follow him on all of his links there. All of those links will be in the episode description below as well. And I am looking forward to following and figuring out which team I want. I'm like, I think it's going to be the Hanwha Eagles just because orange is my favorite color. But
Well,
maybe
episode 1 is
maybe there's
still
something
there.
else.
Episode 1 is still there, the VOD, as well. The last episode, episode 17, will also be the same as episode 1 with some updates to it. It'll be Choosing Your Team Part 2 for
Okay.
the new people that missed episode 1 slash that didn't know about the series until, like, later on. So the first and last episode will purposely be Choosing Your Team. So that way, if you didn't choose it yet and you're like, I still want to see some teams, you can wait all the way to 17. You can choose it whenever you want, really. But episode 1's still up there as well if you want to just run that back. But
Okay.
the Eagles might suit you well. I know they're a fun upcoming team.
I'm gonna go look and see if that's gonna be my team. I think it is, but we'll see. So besides the Twitter, can you tell us where else the people can find you?
Um, Let me think. Well, I mean, all my just like Delpher. So if you Google down like YouTube, TikTok, I mean, really anything, it'll all be there. And then for the link to watch the live stream, that'll be kick.com. So if you go kick.com and then you search for Delpher, it'll be there. The VOD will be there. You can watch episode 1 and then episode 2 will be there Friday night.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. And again, I will drop that link in the episode description as well. And with that, we appreciate giving
Thank you
us
so
some
much for
time.
for having me on the channel.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have you back after I choose my team and be like, okay, guys, this is, and then it'll just be like a whole campaign for probably the Hanwha Eagles. So
Getting all of America to be on the
yes,
Eagles bandwagon.
yes, I'm gonna be like, hey, Astros fans, here, let's go, like Hanwha Eagles.
Just gotta
That's
stay orange and black, you know?
yes, yeah. So okay, with that, we are going to say goodbye. So don't forget to give us a 5-star rating. Really, only 5 stars because anything else is just kind of crappy, guys. Come on now, like 5 stars. Let's do this. Written review. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube and tell a friend to tell a friend. All right. With that, we will say goodbye and yay baseball. I'm gonna
Take
hit
care,
end record.
everyone.
Maybe I'm gonna hit end record.